Range Rovers are the essence of British royalty and prestige. Their kings and queens are always driving around in these things, so I thought it's only fitting that I put on a sport coat for this occasion. Who am I kidding? I hate formal clothes. I'm a shorts and t-shirt kind of guy. Actually, that's the only nice piece of clothing that I own, so 1 second. Where was I? Oh yeah, the Range. So Range Rover has taken their signature boxy look and given it just enough angles and smoothed out some of the edges to make it look just right. The Range Rover is like a CEO walking into a boardroom with all of their executive presence and gravitas. When you see one of these on the road, you can't help but notice it. This 2019 Range Rover Sport HSE definitely makes a statement. It's not shy about that whatsoever. There is one thing though that I don't like, which is these fake exhaust vents. Come on, Land Rover, you can do better than that. Besides the exhaust vent, which is the bane of our existence, and every other car manufacturer is doing it, it's hard to find any flaws with the design, and I think the Range Rover is really one of the most beautiful SUVs out there today. My favorite aspects about the design of the car are the tail lights and the headlights. And this color scheme works so nicely with the gray paint and the black wheels. It's all very tasteful and classy, exactly how a Range Rover should be. I actually like looking at this car more than driving it. Looks aside, the Range Rover has got a ton of off-roading capabilities and it's really designed for that, and it's got a lot of technology around it. One of the first things that I'll show you is how the car can raise and lower with its complicated air suspension setup. Right now, this is at its lowest ride height, and now I'm going to raise the car to go to its maximum ride height for off-roading. And now I'm going to put the car back down. The other cool feature that the Range Rover has is the ability to raise or lower the rear suspension. So they have a couple of buttons here you can push to do that. Then you can lower it back down. I could play with the air suspension on this car all day long, but I don't want to break it. So let's now move on to other things. On the inside, you got to give it to Land Rover. They did come up with something pretty unique. The two screens that you see on the dash are just a cool aspect of how things are laid out. And my favorite thoughtful touch is what they did with this top screen. So on this screen, because of all the glare and stuff coming in at random times of the day, if you go into settings, you can change the screen angle. And this is really helpful, especially if you can't see what's on here. But the big problem I have with all this technology is there's just a lag with things, as you can see. If I push on the camera button, it takes a while for this stuff to come up. So it's almost like there's 90s processors in here to process this information. It shouldn't be this slow, especially considering this is only a 4-year-old car. And then moving things around on the map, there's a lot of lag. It's just hard to use. So that's really the big disappointment here. On the second screen, you have your climate control. You can change all of the air settings and the airflow, turn on and off the heated seats, vehicle settings. And this one is a Sport HSE. So there's no other settings on here, but with the autobiography, you have additional racing options and other drive modes. This one is just your off-roading with grass, gravel, snow. I like how the dial can serve a dual purpose. You push it down, it changes the seat setting with the heated seats. Same thing with this dial as well, where it can change your fan speed and also it can change your temperature setting. So just the overall layout and design, this is very interesting. Land Rover has really put a lot of thought into the design of this because it's different, it's unique. You feel the luxury, you feel the premium quality. And as a driver in the driver's seat, I love how everything's angled away from you, so it adds to the roominess and spaciousness of this vehicle. I like how the steering wheel is designed, especially the buttons that are on here. If you push this one, it changes the display and the design and the functionality of the button to match what needs to happen on the dash. So this piece of technology is again interesting and helps the car stand out from its competition. There's a couple of things that I find a little bit odd though about the design. For example, the window switches are normally in the armrest area. They're up here, which ergonomically is not well thought out. It's just a little awkward when you're sitting inside the car and you're trying to manipulate these things. And then the start button, you would expect it to be somewhere over here that's easily reachable, but it's a little hidden all the way up here. And to open the glove box, there's nothing down here that's easily accessible. It's a couple of small buttons up here. And then this thing doesn't stay open, it automatically closes, which is a little strange, not sure why they did that. Unique is generally good, but sometimes it feels like they're unique just to be unique, even if there's no real purpose to it. Another weird thing is these chairs have these armrests that go up and down. They kind of seem pointless because you have your center console, you don't need this extra thing, and all it does is get in the way and reduces your elbow room. So I think they could have done without this. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. You know, British royalty get driven around in these things all the time, so it has to be comfortable and luxurious in this car. It's very wide and spacious. You can definitely fit 3 adults in here, no problem. The entire center back seat comes down in the middle, turns into cup holders and pretty big armrests. That just shows you the size of this back seat area. There's no question that the Range Rover is the ultimate in comfort and luxury, and you feel it right away. The way this can absorb all of the bumps, it's so stable, you don't feel anything as you're driving, in a good way. It's not like it's a couch on wheels, it's not bouncing or floating along. It's easy and comfortable to drive this. You have giant mirrors, you have big windows, there's no lack of visibility. And this one being the HSE Sport, it's got the 3-liter V6, 340 horsepower. I was thinking initially that this might not be enough power for something as big as this, but I think it's actually adequate. After driving this for a while, when you get on it, it has enough passing power. You can drive it fine in traffic. So many trims with the Range Rover. You have the HSE Dynamic with 380 horsepower. You have the Autobiography with 500 plus. The SVR is getting close to 600 horsepower, which I'm sure those are absolutely thrilling cars to drive, but you're not buying a Range Rover for those reasons, and those are insanely expensive. I think the HSE Sport is a really good compromise and a really good balance. The engine's got a little bit of a grunt to it as well, so I like that. What I'm surprised about with the Range Rover is it's big, it's heavy, but the handling, it's actually not that bad. I do have to make some adjustments for the fact that it's big and heavier, and there's a lot of body roll to deal with, but the stability and the composure is much better than what I was expecting. So if I were to get a Range Rover, I think the HSE would be the right one, and it's reasonably priced compared to the crazy SVRs of the world. So, do you need a Range Rover in your life? I think if you can swing it, do it, because these cars are special. Just look at it. When you drive one, you'll see what I mean. These have tons of character, they're so unique. They even have a Range Rover symbol in between the door panels. The only problem is these cars depreciate like crazy. They're so expensive new that you absolutely want to avoid them. A 2019 model like this will cost you still close to $40,000, and if you can get a certified pre-owned warranty, do it, because it'll be the air suspension that gets you into trouble, or some electrical issue, or an engine problem. A warranty is highly recommended. But even then, you might lose a lot in depreciation because these cars just can't hold their value. But I think it's worth it to pay to play, because these cars truly are one of a kind, and you won't regret it.